The research vessel. Determination drifted through the Kepler 4042 system's asteroid field, its sensors sweeping through the debris for valuable minerals. Captain Sarah Chen watched the displays with practiced eyes, but her attention kept drifting to the distress beacon that had been broadcasting on an obscure frequency for the past 3 days. "Still picking up that signal, Captain," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. "It's definitely not human origin." Sarah nodded. The beacon used a complex harmonic pattern that their xenolinguistics AI had partially decoded. What they understood so far painted a disturbing picture. Someone or something was in mortal danger, abandoned and dying. "Any response from the Galactic Council?" Sarah asked. Torres shook his head. "Nothing, ma'am. We've broadcast the signal to every known council frequency. Complete silence." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her analysis station. "Captain, I've been studying the biological markers in this signal. Whatever's broadcasting this isn't just asking for help. It's literally drowning. The biochemical signatures suggest a massive aquatic creature in severe respiratory distress." The bridge fell quiet. Sarah felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders. The Determination was a small research vessel with a crew of 42 humans. They were over 8 light-years from the nearest council station, and their mission was mineral survey, not rescue operations. "How big are we talking, Doctor?" Sarah asked. Elena pulled up her readings on the main screen. "Based on the signal's strength and biological output, I'd estimate something roughly the size of a blue whale, but the neural patterns suggest intelligence levels far beyond any Earth cetacean. This isn't just an animal, Captain. This is a sentient being." Engineering Chief Marcus Webb spoke up from his station. "Captain, I've been tracking the signal's origin point. It's coming from the third moon of Kepler 442c. Preliminary scans show it's an ocean moon, but there's something else. There are artificial structures in orbit. Looks like an abandoned observation station." Sarah studied the tactical display. The moon was 6 hours away at maximum burn. The distress signal was growing weaker by the hour. "Sir," Torres said quietly, "there's something else. I've been monitoring council communications channels. There are multiple ships in this system, advanced ones. They're not responding to the distress call, but they're definitely aware of it." The bridge crew exchanged glances. It was one thing for the signal to go unnoticed. It was another thing entirely for it to be actively ignored. Dr. Vasquez enhanced her biological readings. "Captain, the creature's vital signs are failing. Maybe 6 hours left, 8 at the outside. And there's something else. These readings suggest this being has been artificially modified. Enhanced intelligence, extended lifespan, possibly even genetic augmentation for survival in extreme conditions." "Enhanced by whom?" Sarah asked. "Unknown, but the modifications are far beyond current human capabilities. This level of genetic engineering suggests council-level technology, possibly from one of the founding species." Marcus brought up structural scans of the orbital station. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from that station, but it's completely automated. No life signs. It's like someone built a sophisticated observation post and then just left." Sarah's mind raced through the implications. A genetically enhanced intelligent creature, dying in the ocean of a moon orbited by an abandoned but still functional observation station. Council ships in the system but refusing to respond to distress calls. "Lieutenant Torres, expand our communications sweep. I want to know exactly which ships are in this system and why they're not responding." "Aye, Captain." Within minutes, Torres had identification codes for 7 vessels in the Kepler 442 system. Sarah's blood ran cold as she read the list. 3 Xelian research ships, 2 Korthak industrial vessels, 1 Nexari diplomatic cruiser, and a Vegan scientific expedition ship. All advanced species, all council members, all ignoring a dying sentient being. Dr. Vasquez, what can you tell me about the creature's species? Sarah asked. Elena worked her controls, cross-referencing the biological signatures against every known database. That's just it, Captain. It doesn't match any known species in our records. The genetic markers are completely unique, but there are traces of multiple known species DNA. It's like someone took the best traits from various species and combined them into something new. The implications hit everyone at once. This wasn't just an unknown species, it was an artificially created one. A hybrid, Marcus said quietly. Someone made this creature. Sarah looked at the biological readouts again. Enhanced intelligence, engineered for survival, possibly even designed for specific environmental conditions. Doctor, could this creature have been designed as some kind of living research tool? It's possible. The neural complexity suggests not just intelligence, but enhanced memory capacity and analytical capabilities. If someone wanted to create the perfect deep ocean research creature, this might be what they'd design. Torres looked up from his station with a grim expression. Captain, I've been monitoring communications from those council ships. They're not just aware of the distress signal, they're discussing it. And from what I can parse through their encryption, they're under orders not to intervene. Orders from whom? Unknown. But the communications reference something called Project Deep Echo. Whatever this creature is, it's connected to some kind of council operation. Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. So they created this being, used it for some project, and now they're just letting it die? Dr. Vasquez enhanced her scans further. Captain, there's something else. The creature isn't just drowning, it's trapped. I'm reading artificial restraints around its extremities. It's been deliberately restrained and left to die. The bridge fell silent. The picture was becoming clear, and it was ugly. Someone had created an intelligent being, used it for research purposes, and when the project was finished, they'd simply abandoned it to die rather than deal with the ethical implications of what they'd done. How long until we reach the moon? Sarah asked. 5 hours, 43 minutes at maximum burn, Marcus replied. And the creature's life signs? Deteriorating rapidly. I'm not sure it will last that long. Sarah made her decision. All hands, this is the captain. We are changing course to respond to a distress call. Secure all stations for maximum acceleration. Captain, Torres said carefully, the council ships are already broadcasting warnings. They're ordering us to maintain course and not interfere with ongoing scientific operations. Ongoing scientific operations? Sarah's voice was steel. Is that what they're calling it? She activated the ship-wide communications system. Attention, crew of the Determination. We have encountered a situation that requires immediate response. A sentient being is dying, trapped and abandoned by those who should protect it. Other ships in this system are refusing to help. I want you all to understand. What we're about to do may have consequences. The Council may view our actions as interference. But I will not stand by and watch a thinking, feeling being die because it's inconvenient for someone's research project. She paused, looking around the bridge at her crew's faces. She saw determination mirroring her own. Anyone who objects can lodge a formal protest in the ship's log. But we are going to save that creature, whatever the cost. Mr. Webb, maximum burn to the moon. Dr. Vasquez, prepare everything we need for an aquatic rescue operation. Torres, send a message to those council ships. Tell them the human vessel, Determination, is responding to the distress call, and if they have a problem with that, they can file a complaint with Earth Command. As the ship's engines roared to life, pushing them toward the ocean moon, Sarah couldn't help but think about humanity's place in the galactic community. They were the newest members, often dismissed as primitive and emotionally unstable. But right now, she was proud of that emotional instability, because apparently, when faced with a dying sentient being, humans were the only species unstable enough to actually care. The race to save a life had begun, and for the first time in the ship's history, the crew of the Determination was about to discover what it truly meant to be human in a galaxy that had seemingly forgotten the value of compassion. The Determination dropped out of warp 3 hours later, its hull groaning from the stress of maximum acceleration. The ocean moon of Kepler 4.2c filled their view screen, a beautiful blue-white sphere covered in endless seas. But there was nothing beautiful about what they found waiting for them. "Jesus Christ," whispered Torres as the sensors revealed the situation below. Dr. Vasquez's enhanced readings painted a horrific picture. The creature, clearly visible now through the clear waters, was massive, easily 3 times the size of Earth's largest whale. Its body was sleek and powerful, covered in bioluminescent patches that pulsed weakly with each labored breath. But what made everyone's stomach turn were the restraints. Massive metal collars circled the creature's body at 3 points, connected to heavy anchor chains that disappeared into the deep ocean trenches below. The being couldn't surface to breathe properly, couldn't dive to escape the crushing pressure of the shallower waters. It was suspended in a killing zone, slowly drowning in an ocean that should have been its home. "How long has it been trapped like this?" Captain Chen asked quietly. Elena's voice was tight with controlled anger. "Based on the deterioration of its bioluminescent organs and the scarring around the restraints, I'd estimate 6 months. Maybe longer." Marcus pulled up structural scans of the restraint system. "Captain, these chains are made from some kind of quantum-locked alloy. Our cutting tools won't even scratch them, and they're anchored to the ocean floor with gravitometric pylons." Whoever did this wanted to make sure this creature never got free. "What about the orbital station?" Sarah asked. "Still active, but not responding to our hails. It's definitely monitoring the creature, though. Massive sensor arrays pointed right at it. This whole setup is some kind of long-term observation system." Dr. Vasquez enhanced her biological scans further. "Captain, I'm reading neural patterns that suggest extreme psychological distress. This being has been aware of its situation for months. It knows it's been abandoned. It knows it's dying, and it's been calling for help that entire time." The bridge fell silent. Each crew member was processing the magnitude of cruelty they were witnessing. "The council ships?" Sarah asked. Torres checked his instruments, still maintaining position at the edge of the system. "They're watching us, but not interfering yet. I'm picking up encrypted communications, though. They're definitely reporting our actions to someone." Sarah studied the tactical display. The restraint system was sophisticated and robust. The creature was running out of time, and they were one small human research vessel against technology that was clearly beyond their current capabilities. "Options?" she asked her senior staff. Marcus shook his head. "Direct approach won't work. The restraints are too strong, and we don't have the tools to break them. The anchor points are too deep for our submersibles to reach safely." "What if we don't try to break the restraints?" Dr. Vasquez said slowly. "What if we help the creature break them itself?" Everyone turned to her. "Explain," Sarah said. Elena pulled up her biological analysis. "Look at this creature's muscle structure. It's incredibly powerful. These restraints aren't holding it through superior strength. They're positioned at precisely the right points to prevent it from generating maximum leverage. But if we could give it something to push against, something to change the angle of force—" "You're talking about giving it a fulcrum," Marcus said, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Exactly. The determination mass is about 8,000 tons. If we could position ourselves correctly and lock onto the creature with our tractor systems, we might be able to provide the leverage point it needs to break free." Torres looked skeptical. "That's assuming the creature understands what we're trying to do and cooperates. We can't exactly explain our plan to it." "Actually," Elena said, "we might be able to. I've been analyzing its neural patterns, and the structure suggests a form of electromagnetic communication. It might be telepathic, or at least empathic. If I can modulate our communications array to match its neural frequency? Do it, Sarah said immediately. As Elena worked to establish communication, Marcus ran calculations on the structural stress their plan would place on the ship. Captain, this is going to be dangerous. If the restraints snap suddenly, the recoil could tear our hull apart. And if the creature panics or misunderstands our intentions, then we'll deal with that when it happens, Sarah said firmly. How long does the creature have? Maybe an hour, Elena reported. Its oxygen levels are critical. Elena, how's that communication link coming? Almost got it. There. Suddenly, the bridge was filled with something none of them had ever experienced. It wasn't quite sound, wasn't quite emotion, but somehow conveyed both. Pain, despair, exhaustion, but underneath it all, a spark of hope at their presence. My God, Torres whispered. It knows we're here to help. The communication was primitive, more emotional impression than words, but the meaning was clear. The creature was grateful, desperate, and willing to trust them completely. Elena's eyes filled with tears as she translated the mental impressions. It's thanking us. It says its name is something like Deep Song. It was created to explore ocean worlds, to learn and discover and share knowledge, but when its creators found what they were looking for, they decided it knew too much. It was too intelligent, too independent. So they trapped it here to die rather than risk it revealing their secrets. What secrets? Sarah asked. The emotional impression that came through the link was complex. Images of vast underwater cities, advanced technology, resources that could revolutionize galactic civilization. The creature's creators had discovered something valuable on this world and decided that their artificial creation posed a security risk. They were going to let it die to protect their corporate interests, Marcus said with disgust. Not anymore, Sarah said grimly. Marcus, prepare the ship for emergency maneuvers. Elena, explain our plan to Deep Song. Torres, monitor those council ships. If they decide to intervene, I want advance warning. As the Determination maneuvered into position above the trapped creature, Sarah felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. They were about to attempt something that could destroy their ship, end their mission, and possibly cause a diplomatic incident with the Galactic Council. But looking at the biological readings that showed Deep Song's failing vital signs, she knew they had no choice. Captain, Torres reported, the Council ships are moving. 3 of them are breaking position and heading this way. How long until they reach us? 27 minutes at their current speed. Sarah looked at Marcus. How long for the rescue attempt? If everything goes perfectly, 15 minutes. If we have complications, then we'd better make sure everything goes perfectly. Elena, are you maintaining contact with Deep Song? Yes, Captain. It understands the plan. It's ready. The Determination settled into position directly above the massive creature. Through the clear waters, they could see Deep Song's bioluminescent patches pulsing in what Elena interpreted as determination mixed with gratitude. Tractor beam locked onto the creature's dorsal ridge, Marcus reported. Structural stress is within acceptable parameters, for now. Deep Song, are you ready? Elena asked through their makeshift communication link. The response was immediate and filled with fierce determination. The creature had been waiting months for this moment. All hands, brace for impact, Sarah announced. Marcus, on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark! The Determination fired its engines, pulling upward while Deep Song pushed downward with all its considerable strength. The water around them churned violently as forces that could crack a moon's crust focused on 3 quantum-locked restraint collars. Hull stress approaching red line, Marcus reported through gritted teeth. But the restraints are showing signs of deformation. Through their link, they could feel Deep Song's exertion, its desperate hope, its willingness to die trying rather than give up. The creature wasn't just physically powerful, Its will to live was stronger than anything the humans had ever encountered. "One restraint collar is cracking," Elena shouted. "I can see stress fractures forming in the quantum matrix." Suddenly, the first collar shattered with a sound like breaking crystal that somehow carried through water and vacuum to ring through their hull. Deep Song's mental cry of triumph nearly overwhelmed their communication system. "Two more to go," Marcus reported. But that energy release attracted attention. "Those council ships are accelerating. They'll be here in 12 minutes. "Then we'd better work faster," Sarah said. "Deep Song, ready for round 2? The creature's response was pure, fierce joy. For the first time in months, it had hope. They repositioned quickly, focusing their efforts on the second restraint collar. This time, Deep Song seemed to understand exactly how to maximize leverage. The creature twisted its massive body with surgical precision, applying force at angles its captors had never anticipated. The second collar lasted 30 seconds before exploding into fragments. "Final restraint," Sarah announced. "But Captain, those ships will be in weapon range in 6 minutes." Sarah made a decision that would haunt and inspire her crew for years to come. "Elena, ask Deep Song if it wants us to retreat and save ourselves." The response came instantly, filled with such profound gratitude and selfless concern that several crew members started crying. Deep Song was willing to die rather than let them risk their lives further. "Like hell," Sarah said firmly. "Nobody gets left behind, not on my watch. Marcus, everything we've got. One final pull." This time, both ship and creature strained beyond all reasonable limits. The Determination's hull groaned ominously as stress indicators flashed red across every system. Deep Song's bioluminescent patches blazed like stars as every muscle in its massive body contracted with desperate strength. The final restraint collar didn't just break, it disintegrated, releasing energy that sent shockwaves through the water and space around them. Deep Song was free. The creature's mental cry of liberation was so powerful it overloaded their communication system. But they didn't need technology to understand what they were witnessing. For the first time in months, Deep Song rose to the surface of the ocean moon, its massive body breaking through into the alien sunlight, breathing freely. "Council ships are 2 minutes out," Torres reported urgently. "They're charging weapons." Sarah looked at the readings, showing Deep Song's improving vital signs, and made another command decision that would define her career. "Torres, open a channel to the Council ships, all frequencies." "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel, Determination. We have just witnessed what can only be described as a crime against sapient life. An intelligent being was restrained, tortured, and left to die by its creators. We intervened because no one else would. If you have a problem with that, I suggest you take it up with whoever gave you orders to watch a sentient being die without lifting a finger to help." The response from the Council ships was immediate and furious, but Sarah had already closed the channel. "Captain," Elena said softly, "Deep Song wants to thank us personally." Through their restored communication link came something none of them expected. Not just gratitude, but a gift. Deep Song began sharing its memories, showing them the wonders it had discovered in the deep oceans of dozens of worlds. Knowledge that its creators had wanted to keep secret. Knowledge that Deep Song freely offered to the species that had saved its life. As the Determination prepared to face the consequences of their actions, Captain Chen realized they had done more than just save one creature's life. They had proven something important about humanity's place in the galaxy. When it mattered most, when courage was required over convenience, when compassion demanded sacrifice, humans didn't hesitate to do what was right. The Council ships were closing in, but Sarah found she didn't care about the political ramifications. They had saved Deep Song, and that was worth any price they might have to pay. The three council ships surrounded the Determination within minutes of Deep Song's liberation, their weapon systems powered and targeting arrays locked onto the human vessel. Captain Chen stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display with calm determination, while her crew prepared for what might be their final moments. "They're hailing us," Torres reported, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "On screen." The view screen flickered to life, revealing three alien faces that Sarah recognized from diplomatic briefings. High Researcher Vexthai of the Zillion Science Collective, whose species had been studying galactic ecosystems for over 10,000 years. Fleet Commander Koroth of the Korthak Industrial Syndicate, representing one of the most powerful economic forces in known space. And most concerning of all, Diplomatic Overseer Nixara of the Nixari Hegemony, whose people served as unofficial mediators for the Galactic Council. "Captain Chen," Vexthai spoke first, his crystalline voice carrying undertones of barely controlled anger. "You have committed an act of unprecedented interference with a sanctioned research operation. You will surrender your vessel immediately and submit to Council authority for processing." Sarah felt her crew's eyes on her. She could surrender now, potentially save their lives, and spend the rest of her career in a Council detention facility. Or she could make a stand. "Research operation?" Sarah's voice was ice. "Is that what you're calling it? High Researcher? Because from where I'm standing it looked like torture." Fleet Commander Koroth's massive frame shifted forward on the screen. The Korthak were known for their pragmatic brutality, and Koroth's scarred features showed decades of conquest. The artificial construct was created for a specific purpose. When that purpose was fulfilled, proper disposal procedures were initiated. Your interference has complicated a delicate situation. "Disposal procedures," Dr. Vasquez whispered from her station, her face pale with horror. Sarah felt rage building in her chest, but kept her voice level. "You created a sentient being, used it for your purposes, and then decided to murder it rather than deal with the ethical implications of what you'd done. And you call that disposal procedures?" Diplomatic Overseer Nixara stepped forward, her four arms moving in what Sarah recognized as a gesture of authority among the Nixari. "Captain Chen, you do not understand the complexities of this situation. The construct designated Deep Song possessed knowledge that could destabilize galactic economic structures. Its continued existence posed unacceptable risks to established order." "So you decided to kill it," Sarah said flatly. "We decided to terminate a dangerous artificial intelligence before it could cause chaos across multiple star systems," Vexthai replied. "Its termination was necessary for the greater good of galactic civilization." Through their still-active communication link with Deep Song, Sarah could feel the creature's reaction to those words. Not anger, which she might have expected, but profound sadness. Deep Song had genuinely loved its creators, had wanted nothing more than to share the wonders it had discovered. The betrayal hurt more than the physical torture. "Elena," Sarah said quietly, "can Deep Song understand what they're saying?" Dr. Vasquez nodded grimly. "Every word. And Captain, it's sharing something with us, the knowledge they were afraid of." Suddenly, the bridge crew's minds were filled with images and data that took their breath away. Deep Song had discovered something extraordinary during its explorations, evidence of an ancient civilization that had solved every major challenge facing the current galactic community. Clean, unlimited energy, faster-than-light travel without exotic matter, technology that could terraform entire worlds in decades rather than centuries. But more than that, Deep Song had found proof that this ancient civilization had shared these gifts freely with any species they encountered. There were no patents, no proprietary restrictions, no corporate monopolies. Just knowledge offered freely to any who would use it wisely. "They want to suppress this," Sarah realized. because it would end their control over galactic development. The Council representatives had been monitoring the data exchange, and their reactions confirmed Sarah's suspicions. Vexathai's crystalline features showed what might have been panic among his species. Fleet Commander Koroth's scarred face was set in grim determination, and Diplomatic Overseer Nixara's 4 arms were moving in complex patterns that Sarah's diplomatic training recognized as extreme agitation. "You see now why the construct could not be allowed to survive," Nixara said. "This information would cause economic collapse across 17 star systems. Billions of beings depend on the current technological hierarchy for their survival." "Billions of beings could be helped by this technology," Sarah countered. "You're not protecting galactic civilization, you're protecting your profits." Marcus looked up from his engineering station, his eyes wide with wonder. "Captain, what Deep Song is showing us, this isn't just technology. It's a completely different way of thinking about resource distribution, energy production, even space travel. If this got out, it would change everything," Elena finished. "No more energy shortages, no more scarcity-based economics, no more barriers to interstellar exploration for developing species." Torres suddenly straightened at his communication station. "Captain, I'm receiving multiple signals. Ships are arriving." The tactical display updated to show new contacts dropping out of warp around the system. Sarah's heart leaped as she recognized the energy signatures. Earth Defense Force vessels, at least a dozen of them, including 2 heavy cruisers. "This is Admiral Rebecca Martinez aboard the EDF Valiant," came a familiar voice over the communication system. "Captain Chen, we received your emergency beacon and came as fast as we could. What's your status?" Sarah couldn't help but smile. In all the chaos of the rescue, she'd forgotten that the Determination had automatically transmitted an emergency beacon when they'd changed course to respond to the distress call. "Admiral Martinez, we have a situation here. We've rescued a sentient being that the Council was planning to murder to protect their economic interests." The 3 Council representatives looked increasingly uncomfortable as more human ships took positions around their vessels. The tactical balance had shifted dramatically. "Captain," Admiral Martinez's voice carried years of command authority. "Transmit all relevant data to the fleet immediately. Let's get the full picture of what we're dealing with here." As Sarah transmitted Deep Song's shared memories and the evidence of the Council's actions, she could see the human fleet's formation tightening. Admiral Martinez had been in command during humanity's first contact with hostile alien forces, and her reputation for protecting human interests was legendary. "Council representatives," Admiral Martinez's voice came across all channels. "I've reviewed the evidence transmitted by Captain Chen. What I see is clear documentation of the creation, exploitation, and attempted murder of a sentient being. From humanity's perspective, this constitutes crimes against sapient life of the highest order." Fleet Commander Koroth's voice was tight with controlled aggression. "Admiral Martinez, humanity is not in a position to make such accusations against Council operations. Your species has been part of galactic civilization for less than 50 years. "You're right," Admiral Martinez replied. "We haven't been part of galactic civilization long enough to become callous about watching innocent beings die. Apparently, that's something you lose after a few thousand years of civilization." Through the communication link, Deep Song shared its amazement at what was happening. In all its explorations across dozens of worlds, it had never encountered a species that would risk everything to save a single being they had no obligation to protect. The concept of humans risking diplomatic consequences, economic retaliation, and military confrontation to save one artificial life form was literally beyond the creature's previous understanding of galactic civilization. "Captain," Elena said softly, "Deep Song wants to do something. It's asking for our permission." "What kind of something?" Sarah asked. It wants to broadcast the suppressed knowledge to every inhabited system in the galaxy, not just to governments or corporations, but directly to individual scientists, engineers, and researchers. It can use the orbital station's communication array to reach millions of worlds simultaneously. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing the standoff between human and council ships. This was the moment of decision. They could try to negotiate, find some diplomatic compromise that might let everyone save face, or they could take a stand that would change galactic civilization forever. "Do it," Sarah said. Deep Song's mental response was pure joy. The creature dove toward the orbital station, its massive form moving through the water with grace that belied its size. Within moments, it had interfaced with the station's systems, using access codes its creators had never thought to revoke. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds and millions of research stations, scientists and engineers suddenly found themselves receiving detailed technical specifications for technologies that would revolutionize civilization. Clean energy systems, advanced propulsion, terraforming techniques, medical technologies that could extend lifespans by centuries, all of it transmitted freely, with no restrictions, no patents, no corporate ownership. The reaction from the council ships was immediate and desperate. "Stop that transmission!" Vexthai shouted. "You don't understand the chaos you're unleashing." "The only chaos I see," Admiral Martinez replied calmly, "is your fear of losing control over technology that should belong to everyone." Fleet Commander Koroth made the mistake that Sarah had been hoping for. Panicked by the thought of losing economic dominance, he ordered his ships to fire on the orbital station to stop the transmission. The moment his weapons struck the station, every human ship in the system opened fire. The battle lasted exactly 43 seconds. The council ships, designed for intimidation and commerce protection, were no match for human military vessels designed specifically for combat. Within minutes, all three council ships were crippled, their crews requesting rescue assistance. "Admiral," Sarah said over the communication channel, "Deep Song has finished the transmission. The knowledge has been distributed to over 4 million research facilities across the galaxy." "Understood, Captain." "And the creature's condition?" Sarah looked at Elena, who was monitoring Deep Song's vital signs. "Completely recovered and expressing what I can only describe as profound happiness. It's finally fulfilled its purpose, sharing knowledge with species who will use it to help others rather than control them." 3 months later, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the assembly hall of Earth's first permanent orbital station around Kepler 442c. The station had been built using construction techniques learned from Deep Song's shared knowledge, completed in weeks rather than the years such projects normally required. Deep Song itself had become something unprecedented in galactic history, the first artificial being granted full citizenship rights by the Galactic Council. The political upheaval caused by the knowledge broadcasts had forced the Council to undergo massive reforms, with humanity taking a leading role in establishing new ethical guidelines for the treatment of artificial intelligence. "Captain," Admiral Martinez said, joining Sarah at the observation deck overlooking the ocean moon, "I thought you'd want to know. The Council has formally requested that Earth lead the new Sentient Rights Committee. Apparently, we've proven that young, emotionally unstable species sometimes make better ethical decisions than ancient, wise ones." Sarah smiled, watching Deep Song's bioluminescent patterns creating beautiful light shows in the depths below. The creature had chosen to remain at the moon, not as a prisoner this time, but as the guardian of the knowledge it had helped liberate. "Admiral, do you think we did the right thing? The knowledge Deep Song shared has disrupted entire star systems' economies. Some species are facing complete social reorganization." Admiral Martinez was quiet for a moment. "Sarah, in 50 years of space exploration, we've learned that the galaxy is full of species with incredible technology, vast knowledge, and sophisticated civilizations. But apparently, we're the only species crazy enough to risk everything to save one abandoned creature. And because we were crazy enough to care, billions of beings across the galaxy now have access to technology that will improve their lives immeasurably. Through the station's enhanced communication system, Deep Song's thoughts reached them, filled with contentment and gratitude. The creature had found something it had never expected when its creators first brought it to life, a species that valued individual life over collective profit, that would sacrifice security for justice, and that believed knowledge belonged to everyone rather than the privileged few. "Captain Chen," came a transmission from the surface. "This is Dr. Vasquez at the research facility. You're going to want to see this. Deep Song has been working with our marine biologists, and it's developed something extraordinary, a method for safely terraforming ocean worlds that could support billions of new colonists. And it wants to share this knowledge freely as well." Sarah looked out at the beautiful blue world below, where a creature created as a tool had become a teacher, a prisoner had become a liberator, and humanity had proven that sometimes the newest voice in the galaxy had the most important things to say. The Council had called humans emotionally unstable, too quick to act, too willing to risk everything for abstract principles. They were right, and Sarah Chen had never been prouder of her species' instability than she was at that moment, watching Deep Song dance in the depths of its home, finally free to share its gifts with a galaxy that was learning, slowly but surely, the value of compassion over convenience.